Okay, it's Bob Frizzell for the reality game, and today's shirt, I haven't worn this for quite a long time. It says Acacia, and underneath it, Snitzen. I can't read it. What is it? S? Maybe that's a T. That's an I. That's like a backward S. That's an A. That's an I, and that's an N. What does it spell? Stizain. So Acacia, and then this, let's call this junk DNA. That part is junk DNA because we don't understand it. It sounds stupid to us. We're going to call it gibberish. In other words, it's senseless babble. You know, like a baby, before she starts speaking any words, babies babble. Babies babble. And we're told that the babbling noises that babies make here on planet Earth include the sounds of every human language. In other words, every baby, when they're babbling, are making the tones of tonal Chinese dialects. You name it. How about some tribal society in the middle of the Amazon jungle? Yes, those kind of noises, those funny noises they make in Africa. It's kind of like it's almost like I can't even do it. It's like a clicking noise that they do, and as part of their language. So all of these kind of things are possible for every baby human born, no matter where they're born. So that just goes to show you that we all are, it's like we have the original, in the olden days we would call it operating system on your computer. If you bought a plain computer without an operating system, well, then what would happen is you would get a built-in display that's built into the hardware. It looks way more primitive than the final product, but on this screen you have some technical support choices, and so technical support would give you there's a bunch of keys, and then it would give you it would be like a diagnostics panel on your screen, and it would tell you all the hardware pieces that are hooked up to the motherboard. So how many disk drives you had, hard drives, if you had any connections to peripheral items, other kinds of hardwares, all this kind of stuff would come up on the screen. And then you would, some of the stuff might be automatically sensed by this built-in hardware. And anyway, the whole point of it is, if we are just like the machines that we designed, I mean, humans did create these out of the human ideas, how to make motherboards, how to make peripherals, how to make operating system software, and then how to make application software. And the whole idea is that if we can come to understand how computers work in general, then we can apply those principles when we're studying ourselves. Because literally we are human biocomputers. We're biologic, and we have computer-like brains, amazing abilities to remember experiences. And generally speaking, blah, 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 okay? Yeah, that's just a swipe, and we're going to change to, let's go this direction. Okay. Okay, so why do we have Acacia on here? Because Acacia is a biological plant that contains high concentrations of certain neurotransmitters, let's call them, that the human brain, anyway, the whole point of it is that if you were to take these kind of plants from planet Earth, various places that they grow, do you want to see if any of these plants taste good as a food, or if they're medicinal for getting rid of unwanted things? Generally speaking, Okay, this is my famous "you know see me" hat. And who is it that we're not seeing in the picture right now? The answer is the storyteller. Because the storyteller, I'm in the picture. I'm the storyteller, I'm talking. Now they're going back to review the tapes in the back control room where they do all the video production department stuff. And they've come to the conclusion that it was a false positive. They had somebody had a little alarm bell in their head that said something's wrong, and they needed to stop, and they needed to go and check a few things and make sure that that there wasn't a hole in the bottom of the boat with water pouring in. So let's consider that one done. Okay, so I want to go on record on what my position is with regard to the status of the Acacia plant and its derivatives. In other words, stuff that you can get from the Acacia plant. Okay, generally speaking, the most important thing to know about plants like Acacia is some of the chemical substances that you can get from the plant are illegal to possess and illegal to distribute. In other words, they are taboo. So these taboo plants are taboo because there's chemicals in them. Are they natural chemicals, or were they man-made, genetically injected? Because that will, anyway, the whole point is we want to know if the acacia plant is native to Earth. And to the best of my knowledge, it is, and my knowledge is just book knowledge. I mean, I haven't had my hands on plants in the Amazon jungle. I haven't been to the Amazon jungle, so no, the acacia plant. Now, what about its products? Am I familiar with the products? Yes, I read what some of the chemicals are in this particular plant. What else did I do? I get a lot more interest if I keep telling you, why am I talking about acacia? And the reason is that acacia contains a lot of very strong hallucinogenic substances. And if you concentrate these hallucinogenic substances and distribute it to the world population, what happens to people that take substances from this plant? They have a psychedelic trip. What's a psychedelic trip? Well, it's one of those kind of trips. It's like one of those kind of trips where it's like a dream. Okay, it's like a dream. So imagine that you go lie down on your couch and you get a nice comfy position, and you maybe put a pillow between your knees, and then you can put on some soft music or hard rock music, whatever kind of trip you want. Or if you don't want music at all, then don't put on any, just be in a quiet room. And then what happens for some people when they consume acacia as a food or as a sniff or as a maybe they would mix it with like an alcohol and call it a tincture. All these different ways of like various smokables, chewables, maybe like a mouth spray. It's a liquid and it would just spray it into your mouth. Anyway, it's possible to ingest, that is, take in these chemicals that are sourced from plants like acacia. Acacia is not the only plant that makes these substances. We know that pretty much every plant that exists makes these substances that are in acacia. And strangely enough, guess what else is capable of making the substances that are found in acacia? We're told it's the human body. Your own body can make the same products as are made in this particular plant. So, as I said, the reason why acacia plants and its products are in many countries considered taboo is because they have a high concentration of stuff that you already have in your body. So which means you already have receptors for something, and it's just waiting for your body, if the body's unmolested, it just waits for the body to give the signal that we need to release the products of the acacia plant into your consciousness through getting it into your physical body, which will bring it into your mental body so that you can experience it with your mind. So the whole point is, well, I mean, this is still, I still don't get you. I mean, if the body by itself can make the chemicals of acacia, then what's the big deal of giving the body more of this acacia-like chemical soup? If the brain can do it for itself, then what's going on? Like, is there another way to trigger the brain to release this stuff, so that we don't have to have an outside source to get a psychedelic trip? Well, the answer seems to be, someone says nebulous. No, not at all. You ask any kind of person who is into doing like shamanic journeys. Because we're told, like, way back in human history, like in the caveman days, the caveman knew about acacia and plants like it. And when they wanted to go on a journey, then they would get their plant of choice, and they would have a little smoke ceremony, and then they would bug out. In other words, they would go off on their journey and on their quest. And so it was like a vision quest to use certain psychedelic substances if they were present in your environment. Now, this is very important. If you have ability for trade routes to exist, even back in the glacial days, 10,000 years ago, with, we would call them primitive humans because they didn't have automobiles and aircraft. They might not even have had metal. They might be using tools that they constructed using the existing stone in the area. And in their particular area, for example, in a northern part of North America, there may not be any psychedelic. These are from like Amazon. I'm pretty sure acacia, it might be a grass. Acacia is a kind of a grass. So it would be related to the grass that you got growing on your lawn, but it could be a bit different, more jungle-like grass. So jungle grass, let's call it. It may not grow in maybe a desert area. And the desert area in this particular area might be too cold for like a peyote cactus to grow. So these people might not have access to any traditionally known as psychedelic plant. So what would they do? Well, they just skipped the plant ceremony and they went right to their vision quest. In other words, you don't need to have an enormous dose of whatever is in acacia grass concentrate in order to have a shamanic journey. So you don't even have to have a metronome going. Because that sound can entrain you into a trance, and that is what some people think happens when some people go on these shamanic journeys, is that if you were going to hook them up to some kind of like an MRI machine or a bunch of electrodes on here to study like what are the brain waves in here, to put the brain waves on an oscilloscope that goes up and down, shows you like sine waves. They could be like nice and smooth sine waves, or maybe they're anyway. You can get all that information, and you can watch what happens when a person who reports being on shamanic journeys all the time, otherwise known as daydreams. Basically, this is what it is. It's like we have made dreaming illegal in this particular manner by putting a taboo on plants like acacia. We have made these things like the forbidden fruit. It's like it's written about in various, all kinds of different books have talked about these kind of things. And if you were going to have like a great big book burning, then every book that I would tell you would be removed from all digital libraries, and all hard copies would be burned. And then we will have exterminated the ideas that were written about in that book that I happen to tell you about. So anyway, I just want to continue to tell you that I still feel like I'm being censored. Why am I being censored? Because I'm not seeing enough new people on my channel. So I don't know why. Generally speaking, people from the United States believe in freedom of the press. And freedom of the press is, someone is giving you information, then freedom of the press should be among a population that enjoys free information. It gets talked about. In other words, like, it's so easy to go on as CNN and talk about Donald Trump's election campaign, but I mean, it's so mundane. I'm talking about what is the news you can use in your own life. And that kind of news is going to come from, somebody said gossip. No, because traditionally gossip usually gets into like, who's having sex with who. We want more kind of information about like, where is the extraterrestrials who have got the warp drive. They've already got Star Trek starships. Because, if there's that many civilizations up there, there's got to be one that's at least at a Star Trek level that looks humanoid. Probably, we were an experiment of these extraterrestrials. I don't know, maybe like 150 years ago, they started this experiment to put some children into some strange MK Ultra like fantasy land with a very controlled environment. A Truman Show for us, under the dome. And anyway, the whole point is, why do we make these things illegal if there are shamanic journeys going on by people who are not using these substances? The answer is, I don't know either. But that's the status of these, and the answer is always the question, why? The old answer was related to Richard Nixon and his henchman named Anslinger. They just had it out. They didn't want any psychedelic substances on planet Earth at all. And it was because their opposition were supposedly turned on by that radical communist from Harvard University and his poet friend. Did you hear they were homosexuals? Yes, yes. And back in those days, in 1973, everyone's heard of this conspiracy theory, Bohemian Grove in California, with like a big owl burning. It's like a Burning Man, but for rich Republicans and their Democratic bed buddies. And other was even Richard Nixon, President Nixon, who had, Nixon said that was the faggiest event I ever attended. It was all men. And so, what do we want to talk about? Richard Nixon's administration created a lot of worldwide treaties on these psychedelic substances and other drugs, narcotics as well, to make a complete set of treaties worldwide that were supposed to bind those countries into these treaties about everything from cocaine to opium to acacia plant derivatives and magic mushrooms. Strangely, the ones that weren't included, as far as we know, are tobacco and alcohol. So you have a big taboo on certain kinds of mind tonics, but not other kinds of mind tonics, because that's what alcohol and tobacco do, don't they? They affect your mind. I don't find so. Alcohol affects my body. Does it change what my mind says? It's difficult to say. Historically, I would say yes. Yes, it would change my personality. Usually felt better having a drink or two. But Mm. Anyway, sometimes, these alcohol tours, they get way out of control and you get horribly sick with dry heaves. And then you say, I'm never going to drink again. Oh, anyway, the whole point of the matter is alcohol is, freely traded. Our government actually owns the liquor store in the place where I live. So the government is the liquor store. So they are the ones that are giving you substances that change your consciousness just like this. This one is taboo. Alcohol is encouraged because the government sells it. Well, we have to go back and look at why is the government selling it. And it's historical because it seemed to be the reason why this particular organization is still named LCBO. It's Liquor Control Board of Ontario. So it is regulating the consumption of alcohol. So it regulates the control of alcohol by having government-owned stores and high taxes on it they want to keep the price high so that you're less likely to use it every day. It's to cut down on use of alcohol. That was the original idea behind high taxes. And then people got the idea, no, government is simply says, we're going to keep buying a bottle of champagne to celebrate our wedding anniversary every year. The government knows that regardless of anything, we're going to keep buying this champagne. So they put the price way up with lots of tax, and it hurts us, I suppose. But, this is the way that these taxes are justified. But it's still available, while this one is not available. And then what happens? Well, we call it black market, where you do get access to this. But who's in control of the black market? Please stay tuned. Okay, so what might happen if you took a dose of this stuff and then you went and lay down on the couch and closed your eyes? What would happen? You might, with your eyes closed on the inside screen of your mind, there, it would be like the back of your eyelids. Back of your eyelids would be your skin, and you might see in there our friend Dragon Yoshi dancing like he was real in 3D on the movie screen with your eyes closed. Now, what would happen if you took these kind of plant derivatives and you decide to play Pokemon Go? And instead of using your smartphone as your Pokemon finder, you just walked around and that Pokemon console that was in your hand, now it's inside your mind. And it's showing you like overlays in like the outside reality, like my backyard here. So could you imagine little Yoshi Dragon back there dancing as you walk around back there in the leaves? That's what might happen if you took this stuff. Or what else could happen? Or not. You might just have a normal day as if it was the same as not taking this. You saw no difference. Maybe you see Yoshi every day anyways. Or maybe you never see Yoshi. Okay, this is the famous cactus from the desert. And some of these cactuses are known to be of a similar nature to acacia grass. So what do we want to know about all this to sum it all up for you? To sum it all up for you, these substances are taboo. And we don't want to tell you that tobacco and alcohol are not taboo. And we want to tell you the truth. Most of the time when we get really worried, when people are ingesting psychedelic substances like mescaline or DMT, we are very afraid that they are going to have a bad accident. And the truth of the matter is, all the people that are driving around today are on mind-controlled drugs. And these mind-controlled drugs that are designed to help symptoms of disease in the body. In other words, if you take an aspirin, that's a mind-controlled drug in some form. If you take a Tylenol, it's also doing something to ease the pain that's in your mind. Okay, it's Bob Frizzell again, and I just want to tell you to finish off this video. I can't finish it off. There's two more things to say, but I'm at 25 minutes, so I just want to go and make a cut here. And please join us in the next segment.